Admiral Daniel Carter stared at the holographic display, his face grim. The unknown vessels had appeared at the edge of human space 3 days ago. Now they were moving toward the outer colonies with purpose. "Any response to our hails?" he asked. Lieutenant Kate Morgan shook her head. "Nothing, sir. They're receiving but not answering." The command center of Earth Defense Headquarters hummed with tense activity. Analysts rushed between stations, and the air felt electric with anticipation. "We have movement," called out Officer Jason Reed. "They're deploying smaller craft." Carter leaned forward. "Weapons signatures." "Scanning." "Yes, sir." "Energy readings consistent with weapons charging." The Admiral straightened his uniform. 20 years in Earth's defense forces hadn't prepared him for this moment. Humanity's first contact with a hostile alien civilization. "Put me through to Colonial Governor Walsh," Carter ordered. Moments later, the worried face of Benjamin Walsh appeared on screen. The governor of the outer colonies looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Admiral, please tell me you have good news. The unknown fleet is accelerating toward your position, Governor. You should begin evacuation procedures." Walsh ran a hand through his graying hair. "We've already started moving civilians to the shelters. But a full evacuation? We're talking about 80,000 people. Do what you can. We're dispatching the Third Fleet to your position, but they're 18 hours out." After the transmission ended, Carter turned to Morgan. "What do we know about them?" The lieutenant activated a side screen. "Not much. Their technology appears significantly advanced. Ship design unlike anything we've encountered in our explorations." A communications officer interrupted. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the lead vessel." "On screen," Carter ordered. The image that appeared showed an alien being with gray-blue skin and multiple eye stalks. It wore ornate armor that gleamed under bright lights. "Humans," the alien said, its translator creating slightly delayed English. "I am Ambassador Zextar of the Zarkon Empire. Your expansion into this sector violates Imperial territory." Carter maintained his composure. "Ambassador, we were unaware of any prior claims to these systems. We're prepared to discuss boundaries and establish diplomatic relations." The alien's eye stalks quivered in what seemed like amusement. "Discuss. With primitive mammals. The Zarkon Empire controls 70% of this galaxy. We do not negotiate with lesser species. We conquer them." Carter felt his jaw tighten. "I suggest you reconsider that position, Ambassador. We have no desire for conflict, but we will defend our people." "Your species' arrogance is noted. Our preliminary analysis suggests your technology is at least 3 centuries behind ours. Resistance would be futile and wasteful." "Analysis can be deceiving," Carter replied evenly. After the transmission ended, Morgan approached with a data tablet. "Sir, I've compiled information from our deep space probes. The Zarkon have conquered at least 7 other civilizations that we know of. None survived as independent entities." Governor Walsh called in again, his voice urgent. "Admiral, they're attacking our outer sensor arrays. 3 colonial outposts have gone dark." "Get me the president," Carter ordered. Within the hour, Earth's Colonial Council had convened an emergency session. Carter stood before the representatives of humanity's first interstellar government. "They've made their intentions clear," he told them. "The Zarkon demand our immediate surrender. All colonies are to be ceded to the Empire. Earth would remain independent but as a vassal state." President Laura Chen looked around the table. "Options. We fight," said Defense Minister Richard Grayson. "Against an empire that controls most of the galaxy?" asked another counselor. Carter activated a tactical display. "They expect us to either surrender immediately or fight conventionally and lose. They don't understand humans." "What are you suggesting, Admiral?" asked Chen. "We offer one more chance at peace while activating Defense Protocol Omega. If they refuse, we hit them with everything we have, in ways they won't expect." The official response was transmitted hours later. Carter personally delivered the message. To the Zarkon Empire, we are not like the others you've conquered. We will defend our right to exist with every resource at our disposal. For your own sake, reconsider your actions. This is your only warning. We would prefer peace, but we are prepared for war. The Zarkon reply came swiftly, an attack on the mining colony of Europa 7. Humanity's first interstellar war had begun. The Zarkon warships descended on Europa 7 like hungry predators. They expected an easy victory, a quick demonstration of imperial might. What they found instead was Commander Alice Wright and 500 determined miners and colonial defense personnel who refused to surrender. They're coming in standard formation, Wright noted, watching the enemy ships through her binoculars. Just like the tactical report said, no variation. The mining colony wasn't much to look at, a collection of domes and underground facilities built to extract rare minerals. But Wright had spent the last 72 hours turning it into a death trap. All units maintain communication silence. Wait for my signal, she ordered through her secure comlink. The first Zarkon landing craft touched down in the valley below. Alien soldiers in gleaming armor marched out in perfect rows, weapons ready. They moved with absolute precision and absolute predictability. Wright waited until the main force had advanced halfway to the colony before pressing the detonator. The ground beneath the alien troops erupted as mining explosives tore through their ranks. Confusion rippled through the Zarkon forces for precious seconds. Now, Wright commanded. Colonial defenders emerged from hidden positions, firing modified mining lasers. What the weapons lacked in military precision, they made up for in raw power. Zarkon soldiers fell by the dozens. On the Zarkon command ship, Supreme Commander Draz Tvul watched in disbelief. How are they resisting? Our intelligence indicated minimal defenses, he demanded. His second-in-command consulted the battle displays. They've adapted mining equipment into weapons. They're using the terrain against us. Draz Tvul had conquered 7 species across 200 years of service to the Empire. None had ever surprised him like this. Send in the heavy walkers, he ordered. On Earth, Admiral Carter received the battle updates with grim satisfaction. Wright is buying us time. Now we show them what we can really do. Dr. Nathan Harris stood nervously in the weapon control center. His creation, the Helios Array, had never been tested in actual combat. The targeting systems are locked on the 3 largest Zarkon vessels, he reported. Energy levels optimal. Carter nodded. Fire. From 6 different orbital platforms around Earth's solar system, invisible beams converge. The effect was immediate and devastating. 3 Zarkon capital ships suddenly lost power, drifting helplessly in space. It worked, Harris exclaimed. The energy disruption field collapsed their propulsion and weapon systems. On Europa 7, the battle raged for 27 hours. Commander Wright lost half her forces but inflicted 4 times as many casualties on the enemy. When the Zarkon finally captured the colony's main facility, they found it abandoned and rigged to explode. The blast claimed another 300 alien soldiers. Draz Tvul ordered a withdrawal to regroup. This was meant to be a simple subjugation mission. Instead, his fleet had lost 5 ships and nearly 2,000 troops. These humans fight like nothing we've encountered, his tactical officer observed. They don't follow standard combat protocols. They're still primitives, Draz Tvul insisted. Their victory is temporary. We'll return with the full might of the 7th Battle Group. As the Zarkon fleet retreated, Earth forces intercepted their communications. Lieutenant Morgan translated the messages for Admiral Carter. They're calling for reinforcements, she explained. They consider this a minor setback. The Supreme Commander is being criticized for underestimating us. Carter permitted himself a small smile. Good. Let them keep underestimating us. President Chen addressed the combined human colonies that evening. Today we have shown the Zarkon Empire that humans will not bow easily. We have won the first battle, but the war has just begun. In his quarters, Carter reviewed the casualty reports from Europa 7. The victory had come at a high cost, but the Zarkon had learned an important lesson. Humans would not follow their expectations. "You should have run when we warned you," he murmured to the empty room. "Because now we're coming for you." In deep space, the Zarkon reinforcements were already on their way, unaware they were heading toward an enemy unlike any they had faced before. The Zarkon War Council gathered in their strategy chamber, eye stalks twitching in agitation. Holograms displayed human battle tactics from recent encounters. "I don't understand," said Fleet Analyst Vex Null. "They don't follow any recognizable combat doctrine. Each human unit seems to make independent decisions." Supreme Commander Draz Tool paced the chamber floor. 3 months of conflict had produced unexpected results. The Empire had conquered entire civilizations with less difficulty than these humans were causing. "Their vessels are smaller than ours, yet they attack in ways that maximize damage while minimizing their exposure," observed Weapons Master Koltar. "And they keep changing strategies. There's no pattern to predict." Meanwhile, aboard the human vessel Swift Justice, Captain Ryan Foster led his small strike team toward a Zarkon scout ship. Their own craft, barely larger than a shuttle, used a stealth system that rendered it invisible to alien sensors. "Remember," Foster told his team, "we need their navigation database and communication codes. Disable, don't destroy." The 6 humans, wearing experimental-powered armor, breached the alien vessel with surgical precision. 20 minutes later, they departed with the Zarkon databases and 2 alien prisoners. The scout ship's crew never managed to send a distress signal. Back on Earth, Professor Olivia Bennett worked tirelessly to decode the Zarkon language and cultural references from captured data. "Admiral," she explained to Carter, "their entire society functions on absolute hierarchy. No decision is made without approval from above. Creativity is discouraged. Conformity is everything." Carter nodded. "That explains their combat predictability. They're waiting for orders instead of adapting." "Exactly. And there's something else. They genuinely believe they're superior to all other life forms. The concept of losing to mammals is incomprehensible to them." This information proved invaluable as the war escalated. Human ships would attack, then change tactics completely in the next engagement. Zarkon commanders, unable to adapt quickly enough, found themselves constantly one step behind. But the Empire still held vast resources. Their next move targeted Mars' colony with overwhelming force. The attack came without warning. 50 Zarkon warships appeared and bombarded the colony's main dome. 20,000 civilians died in the first hour. The response from Earth was immediate and fierce. Instead of concentrating forces for a direct counterattack, human ships struck at 20 different Zarkon outposts simultaneously. Each attack used different methods. Some used conventional weapons, others deployed electronic warfare, and some used captured Zarkon technology against them. The aliens couldn't respond effectively to so many different threats at once. Their rigid command structure became their greatest weakness. In the aftermath, Admiral Carter addressed the United Earth Congress, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. "The Zarkon expected us to either surrender immediately or fight them conventionally and lose. They think they're fighting soldiers who follow orders. They don't understand they're fighting humans, adaptable, creative, and absolutely determined to survive." The Congressional Hall erupted in applause. On the Zarkon homeworld, Emperor Kaznar demanded explanations from his commanders. "How can these primitives resist us?" he raged. "They should have been conquered within days." Raztol bowed his head. "My Emperor, they do not fight as others have fought. Each human seems capable of independent thought and action. They learn and adapt with alarming speed." "Then we shall crush them with numbers," declared the Emperor. "Assemble the main battle fleet. We will exterminate these humans once and for all." As the massive Zarkon armada prepared for deployment, human intelligence was already developing new strategies. Dr. Nathan Harris had improved his Helios array. Engineer Lisa Dawson had perfected her stealth technology. and Major Frank Collins was designing battle plans that would exploit every Zarkon weakness. The aliens still didn't understand what they were facing. Humans weren't just fighting for territory or resources, they were fighting for their very existence. And there was nothing more dangerous in the galaxy than humans fighting for survival. 6 months into the war, the massive Zarkon main battle fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel near Jupiter. Over 300 warships moved into formation, their hulls gleaming in the distant sunlight. This was the largest military force the Empire had ever deployed against a single species. Grand Admiral Vex Moore, newly appointed after the execution of his predecessor for failure, stood on the command deck of the Imperial dreadnought. The Emperor himself had given him clear orders: crush the humans completely. The human defenses are concentrated around the Jovian moons, reported his sensor officer. Their fleet appears to be retreating from our approach. Vex Moore's eye stalks twitched with satisfaction. As expected, they finally understand their situation is hopeless. All ships advance and prepare to engage. On the human command vessel Defiance, Major Frank Collins watched the Zarkon formation with intense focus. For weeks, he had studied every battle record, identifying patterns in their movements and tactics. "They're taking the bait," he said to Admiral Carter, "moving exactly as predicted." Carter nodded. "All ships, maintain withdrawal. Let them follow us into position." The human fleet pulled back from Jupiter's moons, appearing disorganized and frightened. The Zarkon pressed forward, their perfect formation maintaining textbook spacing as they pursued. "Sir," said a Zarkon officer, "the humans are retreating into the asteroid field between Jupiter and Mars. Our larger ships will be at a disadvantage in that terrain." "It doesn't matter," Vex Moore replied. "Their ships are damaged from previous battles. This is merely a delay of the inevitable." What the Grand Admiral didn't know was that engineer Lisa Dawson had perfected her stealth technology. 200 additional human ships waited in the asteroid field, completely invisible to Zarkon sensors. As the alien armada entered the field, following the retreating human forces, Collins gave the order: Operation Thunderbolt. Execute now. The hidden human ships powered up simultaneously. The Zarkon fleet suddenly found itself surrounded on all sides. Dawson's stealth technology had allowed humans to position ships in locations the Zarkon thought impossible. "We're detecting energy signatures all around us," cried the Zarkon sensor officer. "Hundreds of human vessels. They were waiting for us." Before Vex Moore could reorganize his forces, the human attack began. Unlike the rigid, formation-based Zarkon approach, each human ship operated independently, targeting weak points in enemy vessels with precision strikes. "Break formation," Vex Moore ordered, but it was too late. His captains, trained to maintain strict battle order, hesitated to act without specific commands. This delay proved fatal. The Helios array, now upgraded by Dr. Harris, disabled entire groups of Zarkon ships with targeted electromagnetic pulses. Without shields or weapons, they became easy targets. The humans knew our tactics, Vex Moore realized with dawning horror. This was a trap. The Battle of the Jovian Line, as it would later be known, lasted nearly 12 hours. When it was over, more than half the Zarkon main battle fleet had been destroyed or captured. Grand Admiral Vex Moore's dreadnought was among the last to fall. As human boarding parties secured the massive vessel, Collins and Carter came face to face with the Zarkon commander. "How?" Vex Moore asked, his translator struggling to convey his shock. How could primitives defeat the greatest armada in the Empire's history? Carter's response was simple. "You fight as you've always fought. We fight as we've never fought before. That's the difference." News of the devastating defeat reached the Zarkon Emperor within days. In a rage, he ordered Vex Moore's immediate execution and appointed a new commander. But for the first time in the Empire's long history, doubt began to spread. If humans could defeat their main battle fleet, what else were they capable of? On Earth, celebrations erupted across every colony and settlement. Humanity had secured its first major victory, but everyone knew the war was far from over. The Zarkon Empire still controlled vast territories and resources. The difference now was that humanity had taken the offensive, and they had no intention of stopping. The captured Zarkon command ship yielded treasures beyond Earth's expectations. Lieutenant Kate Morgan spent weeks decoding the alien databases with her intelligence team. "Admiral, we found it," she announced, entering Carter's office with a data tablet. The location of the Zarkon Central Command Station. Carter studied the holographic display showing a massive space station orbiting a red giant star. "Are you certain?" "Absolutely. All strategic orders originate from this facility. It's their nerve center." Carter's expression remained neutral, but his eyes revealed his thoughts. This was the opportunity they had been waiting for. "The station has defenses we can't penetrate directly," Morgan continued. "But there's a vulnerability. They receive supply shipments daily through automated cargo systems." Within hours, the Admiral had assembled a special operations team. Captain Michelle Sanders, a veteran of 3 major engagements against the Zarkon, would lead the mission. "Your team will infiltrate using a captured supply vessel," Carter explained to Sanders. "Once aboard, you'll deploy Dr. Williams' virus into their communication network." Dr. Peter Williams, a brilliant computer scientist, had developed a program that could infiltrate and disrupt the Zarkon command protocols. "Their systems are advanced but rigid," he explained. "The virus exploits that rigidity. It won't destroy their network, but it will create enough confusion to give us an advantage." Sanders studied her team. 6 specialists, each chosen for their unique skills. "We leave in 6 hours," she told them. This mission could change the course of the war. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Emperor Kazanair raged at his advisors in the Imperial Palace. Reports of defeats continued to arrive from all fronts. "Impossible," he shouted, his eye stalks trembling with fury. "How can these mammals continue to resist? We have ruled the stars for 10,000 years." His new supreme commander, Mevkar, bowed low. "Great Emperor, the humans employ tactics we have never encountered. They do not follow any recognizable pattern of warfare. Then adapt. Learn. Destroy them," Kaznar demanded. "We are trying, Magnificence, but there is another problem. News of human victories has spread. The Selnar of Sector 12 have risen in rebellion. The Tavuri mining worlds are refusing to ship resources." This news silenced the Emperor. The mighty Zarkon Empire, which had never faced serious resistance in millennia of expansion, was beginning to fracture. Captain Sanders' mission proceeded with precision. The captured supply ship docked with the Zarkon command station without raising alarms. Her team, wearing modified Zarkon armor, moved through the station's corridors undetected. "Central Data Hub ahead," whispered communications specialist Jack Wilson. 2 guards. Sanders nodded to her security officer, who fired 2 silent stun projectiles. The guards collapsed without a sound. "We have 4 minutes before the shift change," Sanders reminded them as Williams connected his device to the alien computer terminals. "Uploading virus now," Williams confirmed. 30 seconds to completion. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. "We've been detected," Sanders realized. "Finish the upload. Everyone else, defensive positions." The team formed a protective circle as Williams worked frantically. Zarkon security forces approached from both directions. "Upload complete," Williams announced just as the first energy blast struck near their position. The firefight was intense but brief. Sanders and her team fought their way back to the supply ship, losing 2 members in the process. As they escaped, they could see the command station's systems beginning to fail, lights flickering and defense platforms shutting down. The virus spread rapidly through the Zarkon communication network, creating chaos across their military command structure. Ships received contradictory orders. Defense systems activated against friendly vessels. The carefully organized Zarkon military machine began to collapse into confusion. As Sanders' ship limped home, damaged but victorious, An unexpected transmission reached Earth. It came not from the Zarkon, but from another source entirely. People of Earth, we are the Andromeda Alliance. For centuries, we have opposed Zarkon tyranny from the shadows. Your resistance has inspired us to act openly at last. We offer our alliance against our common enemy. The message was signed by representatives of 7 different species, all former victims of Zarkon expansion. Admiral Carter stared at the transmission in disbelief. Humanity was no longer fighting alone. The combined fleet gathered at the edge of Zarkon space, the largest assembly of ships ever seen in the galaxy. Human vessels flew alongside the organic hive ships of the Tavori, the crystalline cruisers of the Xelnar, and vessels from 5 other species of the Andromeda Alliance. Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, watching as the final preparations were completed. All ships report ready, Admiral, Lieutenant Morgan informed him. The Andromeda Alliance forces are in position. Carter nodded. Begin Phase 1. Across thousands of kilometers of space, the Allied fleet moved forward simultaneously. Their target, Zartol Prime, the homeworld of the Empire. On the planet below, Emperor Kaznera received the alarming reports with disbelief. Impossible. How could they breach our outer defenses without detection? His new Supreme Commander, Mevkar, appeared shaken. The human virus still affects our early warning systems, Emperor. And they're not alone. For the first time in his 300-year reign, Kaznera felt fear. Deploy the Imperial Guard, activate the planetary shield, and prepare my escape vessel. The battle in orbit quickly became the largest space conflict in galactic history. Zarkon warships rose to meet the invaders, still numerous and powerful despite their recent defeats. Grand Admiral Vexmore's replacement, a veteran commander named Drazvar, directed the Imperial forces. Focus fire on the human vessels, he ordered. They are the true threat. The others are merely followers. But this assessment proved fatally incorrect. Each allied species fought with unique tactics that complemented the human approach. The Tavori swarm ships overwhelmed Zarkon targeting systems. Selnar crystal vessels absorbed and redirected enemy energy weapons back at them. On the Defiance, Carter watched as the battle unfolded according to plan. Launch dropships, he commanded. Colonel Martinez, you have clearance to begin the ground assault. Colonel Grace Martinez led the first wave of human and allied troops toward the surface. Her target, the Imperial Palace itself. Approaching atmosphere, she reported. Heavy fire from surface batteries. Lieutenant Kevin Russell, piloting the lead dropship, maneuvered frantically to avoid incoming fire. I can get us through, Colonel. As they descended through clouds of anti-aircraft fire, Russell noticed the massive shape of the Zarkon planet killer weapon powering up on the horizon. The enormous cannon could destroy an entire fleet with one shot. Admiral, Russell transmitted, the planet killer is activating. Estimated firing time, 3 minutes. In orbit, Carter received the warning with grim understanding. Their intelligence had indicated the weapon was non-operational. All ships, evasive pattern Delta. Prepare for. Sir, Russell's voice cut in. I can stop it. Before Carter could respond, Russell's dropship veered away from the main assault force, accelerating toward the massive weapon. Russell, return to formation, Martinez ordered. Sorry, Colonel. Someone has to make sure you reach that palace. With his engines at maximum power, Russell aimed his vessel directly at the planet killer's exposed power core. His last transmission was calm. For Earth. The explosion was visible from orbit, a blinding flash that disabled the massive weapon permanently. Russell's sacrifice had saved the Allied fleet. On the ground, Martinez led her forces through the city toward the palace, fighting house to house against elite Zarkon guards. The aliens fought with desperate ferocity, but they couldn't match the combined tactics of the Allied forces. Martinez finally breached the palace gates with a small strike team. They fought their way through ornate corridors until they reached the Emperor's throne room. Kaznera stood waiting, surrounded by his personal guard. His ceremonial armor gleamed in the artificial light, energy weapon in hand. "So," he said through his translator, "the mammals have come to my door." Martinez stepped forward, her armor scarred from battle. "Emperor Kaznar, your forces in orbit have surrendered. Your planet is surrounded. This war is over." "The Zarkon Empire does not surrender to lesser beings," he replied, raising his weapon. "We warned you," Martine said simply. "We warned you to run." The final battle was brief but intense. When it ended, Martinez stood over the fallen emperor, the ruler of 1,000 worlds defeated by the species he had dismissed as primitive. In orbit, Admiral Carter received the news with quiet satisfaction. The cost had been high, too high, but humanity had prevailed against impossible odds. "Admiral," Morgan reported, "the Zarkon fleet has lowered their shields. They're standing down across all sectors." After 10 grueling months, the war was finally over. The peace negotiations took place on neutral ground, an ancient space station that predated even the Zarkon Empire. Representatives from 27 species gathered around a massive circular table, with humans and Zarkon seated directly opposite each other. Admiral Carter represented Earth, while a subdued Zarkon delegation was led by Centaur, a moderate who had secretly opposed Emperor Kaznar's policies for decades. "The terms are not negotiable," Carter stated firmly. "The Empire will release all subject worlds and recognize their independence. A new Galactic Council will be formed where all species have equal representation, regardless of military power or territorial holdings." Centaur's eye stalks lowered in what humans now recognized as an expression of resignation. "The Zarkon have ruled for 10,000 years. You ask us to surrender everything in a single document." "Not everything," Carter replied. "You retain your homeworld and 12 core systems. You keep your culture and your dignity. That's more than you offered us." After 3 days of tense discussion, the Treaty of New Beginnings was signed. The mighty Zarkon Empire was officially dissolved, replaced by a federation of equal worlds. On Earth, celebrations erupted across every continent and colony. Humanity had not only survived its first interstellar war, but had fundamentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy. President Chen addressed the United Earth Congress, with Admiral Carter and the other military leaders standing behind her. "Today marks not just the end of a conflict, but the beginning of a new era for humanity among the stars. We have earned our place in the galaxy." The audience erupted in applause. Carter remained stoic, thinking of the cost. The millions who had died defending human worlds, the brave soldiers like Lieutenant Russell who had made the ultimate sacrifice. Professor Olivia Bennett led a team of human and alien scholars in documenting the war. "The conflict between humanity and the Zarkon represents a turning point in galactic history," she wrote in the introduction to her comprehensive record. "It demonstrates that determination and adaptability can overcome even the most overwhelming technological advantages." The newly formed Galactic Council established its headquarters on a purpose-built station at the border of former Zarkon space. Earth was given a permanent seat, with Colonel Martinez appointed as humanity's first representative. The liberated worlds faced challenges adjusting to freedom after millennia of imperial rule. Human advisors helped many species establish their first independent governments, drawing on Earth's long experience with different political systems. On Mars, a memorial was constructed to honor those lost in the conflict. At its center stood a simple statue showing the human and alien hand clasped together in friendship. The inscription read, "They gave everything so different worlds could find common ground." 6 months after the peace treaty, a new Zarkon ambassador arrived on Earth. Unlike the arrogant Sextar, who had delivered the original ultimatum, Ambassador Kelvan approached humans with respect and curiosity. During a private meeting with Admiral Carter, now retiring from active service, Kelvan asked the question many Zarkons still pondered. "How did you do it? How did your species defeat an empire that had conquered half the galaxy?" Carter considered the question carefully before answering. The Zarkon conquered through overwhelming force and technological superiority. You expected others to behave it as you would, to recognize your power and submit. But humans have faced existential threats throughout our history. We've learned to adapt, to improvise, to find strength in our individuality rather than conformity. But surely that creates chaos, not strength, Kelvin observed. That's what you never understood, Carter said with a slight smile. We weren't fighting for conquest or glory or wealth. We were fighting for our right to exist, as individuals and as a species. There's nothing more dangerous in the universe than beings fighting for survival. As the new galactic order took shape, humanity continued to expand and explore. Earth's ships ventured into regions even the Zarkon had never reached. The lessons of the war remained. Cooperation trumped conquest, adaptability overcame rigid strength, and determination could overcome seemingly impossible odds. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about the species from the small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system. Never underestimate humans, and if they warn you to run, you should probably listen.